What is up, guys? Stark here. I am back again with another character spotlight, and in this character spotlight I am taking a look at Edmond, Dantes, or the Count of Monte Cristo. Now I know it's been a little bit of a gap between my last character spotlight and this one, but there were some things outside of my control. I lost power for like a week, so it's really hard to make videos when you don't have access to power. So unfortunately I had to take a bit of a gap there, and then some other things happened. And yeah, anyway, we're back and we're making more character spotlights. So I have a few more, characters to make. They just released chapter, or the new Singularity. So I have a bunch of new characters for that. And again, I'll get to them all eventually. But for today, we are going with Dantes. So for his artwork, which has been on the screen for a while now, it's pretty cool artwork. But I'm a huge fan of this artwork for a reason, in the fact that it is, I believe, from the author of the Danganronpa series, and that is one of my favorite series currently. So I definitely want this character. If for nothing else, that is the reason why I want him. He is really good though. He is in the first Avenger, I believe, in the game, so he has benefits to rulers, so that's really nice. His stats are really good too. And at level 90, he's going to have 12,641 attack and 12,177 HP. So for his stats overall in the ranking, he's going to rank 3rd overall in attack. And then for HP, he's going to rank at 32. So overall, he's got some really high stats. He's an Avenger, again, like I said, so he will do more damage against rulers. But that's kind of a, I don't know, it's not really a double-edged sword, but it's not really that beneficial, because there's not that many ruler characters, so his bonuses aren't really going to be doing that much damage. So outside of like berserkers, he's just going to be doing like neutral damage. It's not really neutral damage, but odds are you're probably not going to be doing any sort of like class bonus damage with this character. But he does have really high stats anyway, so he can find his way onto teams just because he is a huge stat stick. If you do decide to max him out though, he will end up with 15,838 attack and 15,340 HP. Moving on here to his servant skills. His first skill is going to be the Iron Determination EX skill. Now this is a self buff that will apply Ignore Invincible for 1 turn. It will increase his attack, and it will also increase his debuff resistance for 3 turns. So this is really nice because you can use this to counter the invincibility buff, which it's really, you can't get past it unless you have this. So, anytime you're going against an enemy like that, this skill is going to be insanely good. And even if you don't go against an enemy with that, it still will increase its attack by a pretty good margin. 30% at level 1, goes up to 50% at level 10. So, even if you're not using it for the invincibility ignore, you can still buff your attack up. And he already has really high stats to begin with, so it's definitely really nice, when you're using that. His second skill is the Golden Rule A, which will be a self buff that will increase his Noble Phantasm gain for 3 turns. This will start at 20% at level 1 and it'll go up to 50% at level 10. A bit of a generic skill here, but it definitely helps increase his Noble Phantasm gain. Get your Noble Phantasm ready much quicker than normal, and more Noble Phantasms is always good, so you can't really complain at that. Moving on here to his third and final skill is going to be the Wisdom of Crisis A. Now this is a debuff / buff on himself, where it will decrease the charge of one enemy, and it will also remove debuffs from himself, and it will also gain critical stars for himself. So this is a pretty, it's better than that. It's a really good skill where you can remove the Noble Phantasm charge from one enemy, so when they're ready to use their Noble Phantasm, you can just use this skill and get rid of it, and then any sort of debuffs he has on him, he's just going to wipe that off, and then he's going to give himself critical stars. So it does pretty much, not everything, but it does a lot, and very good at what it does. Overall, it's just a very good skill. Moving on here to his class skills. He's going to have 3, and the first one is going to be the Avenger A skill. So this will increase his Noble Phantasm gain when receiving damage by 20%, which is really good, might I add. It will also decrease debuff resistance of all allies except himself by 10%. So this is a bit unfortunate, where he'll decrease, his debuff resistance for his allies, but you're making up for it by getting that extra Noble Phantasm gain when he's hurt. I feel like it's a fair trade-off. Moving on here to his second class skill, it's going to be the Oblivion Correction B. This will increase his critical strength by 8%. And then third and finally, he will have the Self Restoration Magical Energy D skill, which will increase his Noble Phantasm gauge by 3% each turn. So this is really nice. Every turn you're just going to automatically gain 3% of your Noble Phantasm gauge. It's not a whole lot, but it's automatic. It's every turn and it's consistent. So who knows, maybe you'll get to that point where you need that extra 3% to get your Noble Phantasm off the following turn, and this passive skill will just jump right in there and take care of that for you. So moving on here to his Ascension and his skill enhancement materials. So Avengers work opposite of Rulers, where Rulers will need the pieces and monuments. The Avengers pretty much need everything else. So you need the crystals, the bones, the serpent eyes, the pages, the dust, the gears, feathers, and demon hearts for his Ascension. And then for his skill enhancements, you need the seeds, the the claws, whatever they are, lanterns, horseshoes, homunculus babies, talons, scales, and the crystallized lore. So you need pretty much everything else that you don't need on Rulers for Avengers, and that is quite unfortunate. You do need a whole lot of materials, but at the same time you need a whole bunch of different materials. You don't need a whole lot of one specific material. So you probably have a whole bunch of these laying around from events, so maybe you have enough to just go ahead and max them out. Moving on here to his command cards and his Noble Phantasm. He has 2 quick, 1 arts, and 2 buster cards, so you do primarily want to use him on a quick team or a buster team, but his Noble Phantasm is quick and he does have skills that will help with crits, so you might want to lean him towards a quick team overall. As I said, his Noble Phantasm is quick, and it will deal heavy damage to all enemies, and then on the overcharge it will decrease defense for all those enemies for 3 turns, and it will also inflict curse on those enemies for 5 turns. So this is a pretty average Noble Phantasm, honestly. It does do a pretty good amount of damage, and he has really high attack stats to begin with, so you're going to be doing a lot of damage, and then you will decrease the defense on the overcharge and inflict curse, but overall it really doesn't do anything super splashy. It just does a little bit of damage. So it's nothing crazy, but at the same time it will do a lot of damage, so it is nice to have. It's definitely useful for like speed clearing and things like that. So yeah, overall pretty solid, pretty average Noble Phantasm. Not too good, not too bad, just kind of there. So moving on to some of the craft essences that you could use on this character. So first up is his unique craft essence, and I apologize because I'm going to say this wrong. I know I'm going to say it wrong, but it's going to unlock the Chateau d'If craft essence at level 10 bond, and while equipped it will increase quick card effectiveness of all allies by 15% while in the field. So this is your generic quick card effectiveness increase. So, you know, if you have it, you can go ahead and use it, but until then, you can go ahead and use the Gander craft essence for the 15% increase, or the Imaginary Around for the 25% increase for quick card effectiveness. You're pretty much using these because he has really good stats, some of the best stats in the game currently, and you just want to make those even higher, especially if you're going against ruler enemies, so you're just going to be hitting like a truck the entire time. That's pretty much what you're going for with this character, and you know, these 2 craft essences definitely help accomplish that much easier. So moving on here to the character review portion of the character spotlight. So for his stats, he places extremely high on the stats, coming in at 3rd overall in attack, like I said. So he does have really high HP stats too, but you know, not like that high. He's 32, I believe, in HP, but I'm still going to give him a 5 in stats because, you know, anytime you're top 5 in attack and you're still really high in HP, it balances out very nicely. So I'm going to award him 5 stars for his stats. Moving on here to his skills, he does have a pretty good solid set of skills, but you know, they're not like super insane or anything like that. He does have the invincibility ignore, which is really nice and very useful, but again, it's only useful against those enemies, and they're not always there. So I'm going to award him 4 stars in his skills. I feel like that might be a little bit generous, but maybe I'm just a bit biased for this character because I do like him, but I'm going to award him 4 stars for this. And then for the versatility, I'm going to award him 3 stars. He is an Avenger, which is pretty cool because he has that benefit against rulers, but the drawback is there's not that many rulers to fight, so you're not going to be placing him into teams too often for that sort of bonus. And then outside of that, he doesn't get any sort of benefits against other classes, so you're probably going to want to swap him out for another character that will get the class bonus. But you know, sometimes you can find uses for him with speed clearing and things like that, and maybe just overall you just need a better stat stick. so you can throw him in there for that. But again, he doesn't have too much uses outside of ruler killers and stat boosts, or stat stick I should say. So 3 stars for that. Then for his aesthetics, I'm giving him 5 stars for the reasons I said before, just purely because I'm a huge fan of this art style and the person who made it. So 5 stars for that, but again, aesthetics don't count towards the overall rating. As for his overall rating though, he is going to end up with a 4 out of 5 star rating. Very good servant overall, but again, just a couple drawbacks there, just because he's an Avenger, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just right now in the game, there aren't any rulers to go ahead and fight against. So that's going to wrap up this character spotlight. I'm kind of all over the place here. It's been a while since I've done it. But I'm back, and I will continue doing these again each day until something else stupid happens that stops me from making them. But until then, I will leave you guys here with his Noble Phantasm, and I will hopefully see you guys tomorrow. I'll definitely see you guys tomorrow.